Hey, good morning, folks. Hope you're doing well this Monday morning, April the 20th. Lots of good stuff going on. Good to be back with you. Hope you joined us last night to hear Scott and Emily Armstrong share with y'all what God is doing. We had a big turnout. It was a large number of people watching the stream on it. People from about 12 different states across the United States, as well as three, maybe even four. I think it was even four different countries. So it was very, very cool to have them with us and share and just trying to figure out, continue to have ways to connect people to our missionaries, to others that's during this pandemic where there's no travel. But it's good to be on with you this morning. I wasn't anticipating this, but some of you had started to even send me jokes because I guess my jokes are really, really bad. Either that or you have other ideas. So that's fine. I thought I'd just share this morning with a user-submitted joke. All right? How about we start with that? And this is how it goes. It says, I just saw a burglar kicking in his own door. I asked him, what in the world are you doing? And he said, working from home. I thought that was pretty funny. So, but, well, we've got a lot going on with trying to figure out just how things are happening. You've heard talk of the president say we're going to open back up the country, things like that. That doesn't mean we're going to be starting church right away. As much as I want that to happen, we need to be cautious and careful on how things are going. We've heard so many numerous reports on what that means, what that looks like, and I honestly don't know what is up and what is down right now when it comes to what that means. So here's how we're going to be taking it step by step. The same way they've introduced a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, they've talked about it. They haven't really given us guidelines yet of what that means. But that's kind of how we're going to be introducing, opening up the church. Right now, they're still in the pre phase 1 or pre phase 1 or whatever that looks like. It's like Christmas Eve. We're like phase 1 Eve, if that makes sense. The president is allowing the local state governors to figure that out. And then even beyond that, we've seen how our governor is relying on counties as well. So some counties will be different than others. Osceola was not the hardest hit in Florida, definitely not like the Miami area or the Tampa area, even Orange County in Orlando, but it wasn't the best either. So I don't know how this is going to look in the coming days. I still expect to be doing things like this for a number of weeks because we want to be cautious. We want to follow the guidelines and the rules, but we also want to be smart as well. So just bear with us. As we get answers, I'll pass those along to you, and we put together a plan. We've already started talking about it with our church board, what it looks like when we open back up. What are some things that we need to do differently? What are some areas that we need to either not do or do differently? We're talking about it. We're trying to figure it out. We're not going to be doing online church forever. Now, one of the cool components of it is, because we've started to figure all this stuff out, we will have an online streaming option all the time now. But that doesn't mean you don't have to come to church. We still want you to be at the property in person when we're allowed to. Yeah, lots of stuff going on, trying to figure things out, figuring out ministries, what that looks like in the coming days. But things are good. Things are good. Wanted to bring you a little short devotional this morning. We've been talking about studying the Word and digging into the Bible and things like that. And I want to kind of continue that theme, that phrase. And Psalm chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. And I'm going to read out of a version that I rarely read out of, but I like how it sounds today. But the Good News translation. Some people will say, well, that's not a translation. Okay, I get you. But I like how this is worded in Psalm chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. Happy are those who reject the advice of evil people Instead, they find joy in obeying the law of the Lord. Thank you. And they study it day and night. I had coffee brought to me. Look at that. That's good. I gotta take a drink because it's hot and it's really good. Okay, let me read that again to you. Happy are those who reject the advice of evil people. Instead, they find joy in obeying the law of the Lord, and they study it day and night. That's Psalms 1 and 2 out of the Good News Translation. Now let me read it to you out of the NIV, and you might understand why I like that translation a little bit better. This is the NIV. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. They're both good translations. I just kind of lean towards the Good News Translation for that particular verse. Not all of them, of course, but I like how that one sounds. Do you guys like to watch detective or police shows? Angela and I, we enjoy every once in a while. We'll watch Law and Order or Chicago PD or different things like that that has a mystery element to it, a whodunit type thing. We like those. But what does a good detective and a Bible student have in common? Do you ever ask that question? What does a good detective and a Bible student have? Well, they both learn to ask good questions. They learn to ask good questions that will then draw them to solid conclusions. That's what they do. And so when detectives, when they arrive at a crime scene, the first thing they do is they look around and they observe all that's going on. They look at everything. They look at details that most of us would overlook. Then they begin to ask questions, deep questions, and finally they begin to put all those facts together and make a solid conclusion. Sometimes it takes time, but usually they're able to put together all these facts and make a solid conclusion. So whether you're a student of the Bible or maybe you're trying to be one, your approach to Scripture, I think, needs to be like a detective. It needs to be like a detective. We come to a text and we look at it closely, and we look for details that we might have overread. We look at it again and again. One of the good things, a good practice that you should do is if you're going to read and study a chapter, you do know that the Bible wasn't written in chapter and verse. Those were added later for our benefit. So it's good to go and read the chapter before and the chapter after, just to kind of help you get a context and see what's going on. But we need to get it and we study it like a good detective would. We need to engage with what the words are. And I think it's a good thing to even read different translations. A Good News Translation isn't one that I read all the time, but man, it helps. It helps. Maybe you're an NIV person. Well, read the NIV, read the King James, and read the New Living. Or you pick out different ones that might help you as you study and as you understand. You might be one that makes a lot of notes. You might have a Bible that's full of highlighted sections and underlined sections and notes in the side and underneath. Most of my Bibles I like to keep nice and clean, and I have note cards stuck in all over the place with notes written all over it. I do have one that I'll highlight and write in, but I keep note cards and things like that shoved in my Bibles all over the place. You might use a Bible app on your phone or device, and you'll compare verses that way, or you might even go a little bit further and dig into some commentaries. And if you want questions about what commentaries are good, I'd be more than happy to answer those. But really, one of the best people to ask that we have at our disposal is Pastor Craig. He is a fantastic student of the Word and knows more than I do. So I would encourage you, ask others, dig in together. And then consider some of the questions that we might have learned in school. My kids are studying English and grammar, and I don't think that's for any of them that's their favorite subject, and it was never my favorite subject. But when we ask questions, we think of these: who, what, when, where, why, and how. We think about those questions, and those are great places to start when we study the Bible. Just simple, surface level, detective style questions when we look at the Word. When we've studied the Bible for years, whether you study the Bible for years or you're just starting to get into it, one of the best ways is to do it with other people. Don't jump into it on your own. That's hard. It's difficult. But when you're with other people, and utilize right now, I know we can't be in person, but utilize technology, utilize Zoom, utilize Facebook. Start a group chat, do something, do text chat together. Together, you're going to be able to ask questions and look at it from different angles and from different perspectives, and listen and share. And I guarantee you that you will gain insight that you miss on your own. That's why on our Wednesday nights, it's so important that we have that discussion element, because there are questions asked that I might not think of, and there are points brought up that you might not think of. And so we become better together as a student. I've heard that phrase before, better together, haven't you? That was, I think some genius preacher did a whole series on that, but I don't know. But as you become a student of the Bible, you'll come to know more and more of what the Bible says. And then you'll be able to not just know more and understand more, but it'll become easier to apply it to our lives. And ultimately, that's the goal when we study the Bible. We don't just want to look at it as a good history book or a good book of poetry or some good moral words. It's a roadmap for our life. And so I want you to continue to dig in to His Word. And as awful as this pandemic is, it's given us time, and we can use some of that time to dig in to His love letter written to us. So I want to encourage you, do what it takes to study His Word. Become a detective, asking those weird questions, looking intently over the small details. And I guarantee you that if we spend time, truth will come out to you, and you will be enlightened, and your life will be blessed because of knowing more about the author of this fantastic book. All right, guys. Well, I love y'all. I appreciate you. I hope you have a blessed morning. Dig into His Word. Just pick a book and start somewhere, and we'll have good times to have discussions and things, and that will come. It'll come again when we're back in person and we're gathered around tables and we're digging into the Bible study. But until then, let's utilize the technology that we have. Don't isolate yourselves. Don't be stuck. Find ways to communicate. If you have anything that we need to know as far as prayer requests or stuff, please share that with us. We want to be praying for you. And again, we're trying to do our best to find creative ways to stay connected. All right, guys. Love you. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you are being blessed by the reading of His Word. And then, in turn, because you are being blessed by His Word, you can turn around and bless others. All right, guys? Make sure you get yourself a cup of coffee this morning. You're going to need it today. It's Monday. It's going to be a Monday here, I can already tell. So, have a great day, and we will see y'all again. Take care.